From accredited higher education institutions to YouTube videos, from master classes with self-proclaimed or renowned experts to certification classes, the expansion of online learning means that adults can seek to gain skills and reach objectives, and they can do so online. I'm Ann Morphew, and I'm going to do a quick share screen to discuss a proposal. I want to thank Dr. Martin for his work with Digi 825 at Liberty University as we looked at analytics to communication action. What I want to know is, how do asynchronous instructors compare with their content and their methods, and how they choose those things and perceive student success? What are we feeding our adult students online? Brief terminology: asynchronous versus synchronous. Asynchronous does not have to meet at a particular time. So when my videos come out to my students and I say good morning or good afternoon or good night, it's because my asynchronous students can work when they need to and they're able to get the job done. I'll be talking about LMS, Learning Management System. It's a digital platform in which instructors will put feed-forward content and their expectations and their methods for students to engage, interact, and learn, and show that learning. I'm going to be talking about feed-forward. That contrasts with feedback. Feed-forward may be future-oriented and create a solution, that digital environment with content and methods for that interaction, so that students may gain and demonstrate learning objectives. And finally, another term we'll speak of is constructivist grounded theory. There's an entire field called constructivist teaching, and it suits my own holistic view of students and learning preferences. But constructivist grounded theory will be discussed. It is a qualitative research philosophy and practice where everything is data. And this data can be collected and the surveys can be done to reveal patterns and potentially come up with theory. So why did I choose this? It is personally relevant. My educational philosophy as an instructor of all grade levels and all ages over the years makes this a curiosity. As a curriculum writer, I'm very interested in how to reach students and how to have students reach learning objectives. It is academically relevant. As an instructor at Roane State Community College for Fundamentals of Communication, COM 2025, I want to do my best work for their best work. And it's professionally relevant. An understanding of how teacher perceptions can influence feed-forward selections, and their experience with technology can impact how they ask students to react. There's a professional relevance that can work at my institution and then go further with potential sharing at a larger scalable level. Roane State just finished an academic self-study for 2022, and in it, under teaching and learning, they said that the majority of improvement initiatives have the greatest impact on student learning. They increase student engagement, they foster more faculty collaboration, and they achieve deeper integration of what we know as high impact teaching practices. Student learning assessment, so the students were surveyed, confirmed that we need to create more ways for students to demonstrate their achievement of learning outcomes through lower stakes assignments and methods that go beyond the traditional quizzes and exams. But we don't know what is going on in our asynchronous classes now. We don't have a baseline. Further, we just finished a narrative here for Roane State Community College Parallel Academic Audit. The final report just came out, and it identifies that we have identified student learning outcomes in our core coursework. COM 2025 is one of those. And yes, we all put them in our syllabus, but assessments embedded in the coursework allow the faculty to determine whether these outcomes are current, they're accurately measured, and they can guide students to mastery of the competencies. We have the freedom, and I don't want to take that away, but it's important for us to understand how each different instructor is being influenced and what they're selecting to feed their students. As a researcher at Liberty University and as a COM 2025 instructor, I am positioned to conduct an evaluation of existing completed learning management shells. I've reviewed that we have 3 full-time instructors who teach COM 2025 over the last 2 terms asynchronously, and they all 3 have been late start, so many other elements are all the same. We use a Brightspace Pulse, a Brightspace D2L learning management system that we call Momentum. And I would like to look at the potential impact of instructor point of view in our COM 2025 learning management system, or Momentum. Due to the academic freedom that we have and the general HEI traditional oversight practices, there is no consensus or baseline understanding of how COM 2025 students are digitally communicated to and with. With a rapid movement to and the expansion of online teaching, opportunities exist for us to examine digital communication practices. There's lots of different significance to this. History goes back. They've looked at the nature of the learning ecosystem, on different advances, on social interaction, on what priming has been done. But theory should be grounded in data collected from the field, particularly in the actions, interactions, or processes of people. These are the learning outcomes straight from my syllabus for COM 2025. Each of the 3 instructors that are potentially in this sample, including myself, have to reach these outcomes. But there is one difference, and I wonder if my peers have made any differences to them. I have added that we're going to use COM 2025 assignments to gain college navigation skills. It's my firm belief and my experience that we cannot communicate if we cannot navigate. And so I facilitate a better understanding of the digital platform and of an environment and of the learning support and resources from our institution. I wonder if my peers do something similar. Why is this important? Why is this topic important for communication? Because there's been an increase in online education. Because Tennessee has a program that the government has not only established but funded, that adult students who don't yet have a certificate or a degree may take the on-ground or online classes and have their tuition paid. Tennessee Reconnect has impacted my population and has impacted Roane State's enrollment. Some research indicates that there's an increase in student preference for online education since other recent events have occurred. And as always, there's in higher education institutions, there's an economic argument for student retention and completion. So understanding what we're feeding our online students may impact any of these elements. We know that in 2020, the World Health Organization officially declared COVID-19 as a pandemic. The pandemic has caused educational disruption across the globe, and nationwide closures forced us to temporarily close our doors. I remember being pulled and into fully online, and so grateful that I had moved to higher education and had spent several years developing my learning management system. However, I had to learn how to Zoom. I didn't know that technological capability at that point. So we've been affected because of COVID. In fall 2019, there were 7 million students enrolled in distance education courses at degree granting post-secondary institutions. However, that was about 64% had no distance education, about 40% total distance education, online learning. At least one class, we had about 21.5% that had at least one, and only about 15% was exclusively online learning. There was a rapid evidence review of distance learning programs due to COVID-19 by the Institute of Education Science, and they found in a K through post-secondary education that only 15 of the 36 studies they had reviewed, only 15 studies met their standards, and a lot of gaps were revealed in distance learning programs. With Tennessee's Reconnect, with the comfort our students have expressed in surveys with online classes, plus the expansion and advertisement for all sorts of online programs and online degrees. Just today, I've pulled from the Institute of Education Sciences through the National Center for Education Statistics, a report about Tennessee. Now we have 26.7 enrolled exclusively in online classes. About a third of our students are enrolled in some. And it does say 41.3 aren't enrolled in any. So that means they're being able to reach their online or their in-person goals. Why choose qualitative, constructive, grounded theory? Qualitative suits our needs. I recall at the beginning of my Digi 700 and Digi 705, trying desperately as I went through Little John, going through there and trying to find where it would fit, what theory could fit what I wanted to do as I examined what content teachers were putting out there in this whole student-teacher learning cycle and as they interacted with peers. And it just couldn't fit. But later in another course, I found that the light bulb went on when I found out about qualitative constructivist grounded theory. So why choose qualitative? Qualitative research seeks to provide and generate a better understanding of people's experiences and seeing the world through their eyes. Willig says it's like painting a picture with words, and that suits my style. But it also has a system to it. The application of comparing the learning management elements and then creating from that a survey for the 3 instructors, including myself, continuing to develop interview questions when I see things that are different than what I do and how the different instructors lend weight in their process that's grounded in data, will allow me this feed-forward content with the assignments, the methods, the tools that they're being used as they have the students apply course objectives. That investigation may reveal that the instructor's teaching philosophy, their teaching experiences, like my own, knowledge of technology or lack of knowledge, and their personal point of view on what's successful for their students will impact their feed-forward content choice. Qualitative constructive grounded theory frames this proposed LMS comparison, where as an investigator, I am one of the participants, and biases get to be confirmed upfront and throughout, leaving an audit trail. I've already been memoing for a number of terms, and I need to bring all of this together. but I'm hoping to survey myself and my colleagues so that we can code and go through this analysis to reveal common or different patterns, ultimately leading to potential theory. So the meta-analysis is concurrent and ongoing. The application of theory of communication competence is this interpretive analysis. And further studies may find they need to be utilized, like quantitative understanding once the surveys come through. We know that there's an IRB permission that is needed. And although I have touched base with the two colleagues and with my dean and the officer in charge of institutional effectiveness and research at Roane State, we'd have to go through the whole IRB process to get permission. But we want to protect information and we want privacy to be protected. We'll use appropriate release forms and the completion of the various tiers through this. In constructivist practice, memoing and procedure may raise the external validity, while the survey answers can offer new ways of feeding higher ed students or suggest some model that can be created as part of the analysis. It may be found that the non-investigator participants in this study, my colleagues, will choose to add to the data collection or the analysis, and any changes that are made when we continue through this survey would be noted in the instructor or the investigator's memoing so that we have that audit trail, that consistency that may be replicable or even scalable or offer some new insights or practices. It is a very small sampling, but this challenge and this opportunity is that we may see a variety of feed-forward content and methods for asynchronous teaching of the same course. We might see a variety of practices that can engage students. We may reveal deficiencies as to instructors' meeting of the course objectives, perhaps even my own, so that I can make adjustments and increase what I need to be doing. And once the themes or theories are developed, again, quantitative examination may result. Will I continue with this topic? Oh, yes. Since 2015, when I took some graduate communication courses at Austin Peay University, and throughout my teaching career, I have been fascinated with how students communicate, how teachers communicate, and that whole learning feedback cycle, teacher-student learning feedback cycle and peer-to-peer and what's going on. I will do some form of this, and I hope that I get support and approval to make that happen. Thank you.